Morning, guys. So I am here with your final video and your final explanation of your final bell ringers for the year with your comma rule. So you have comma rule 9 and 10 left to go. Comma rule 9 deals with introductory prepositional phrases. So introductory phrases to a sentence. Okay, we've kind of already done this because we've talked about when you introduce a sentence with words like although, when, that those types of phrases require sentences. We've talked about this with transition words, which are also introductory, things like however or additionally. So this is kind of just an add-on to that. These are phrases that just make these sentences clearer. They're not always necessarily integral to the sentence and necessary for the sentence to be complete, but they do add some clarification to it. The trick here comes that the comma has to be used when there's more than 3 words, meaning there's at least 4 words that are the introductory part of that phrase. If there's 4 or more, you need a comma. If you have 3 or less words in the introduction, then the comma is kind of optional. So let's look at some examples. Here are some prepositions. Prepositions are words that give you like direction. So for example, you see things like above and between, and then they're clarifying like relationships, such as, beside this or except that. So here's a list of the common prepositions you might see in these introductory phrases. Here's some examples. Between you and me, the movie was terrible. Notice your sentence, the movie was terrible, is already complete. So again, this introductory phrase is only clarifying it. The fact that, I'm letting you know, like, I'm not going to let the world know between you and me, it was awful. Notice that this introductory phrase, between you and me, is 4 or more words. Therefore, it must have a comma. Except for the first and last scene, the movie was boring. Again, the movie was boring is a complete sentence on its own. So this phrase is just introducing it, is just clarifying. Notice that this phrase has more than 4 words. So again, that comma is required. Finally, in 1962, a little dyslexia there. In 1692, the Salem witch trials occurred. Again, the sentence, the Salem witch trials occurred, is already complete. In 1692 is giving additional information. It's clarifying when it happened. Notice, though, that this is 3 or less words, so that comma is optional. It's not wrong to put it, but you don't have to have it. So as you go through here, my suggestion is find your prepositional phrases, count your words out, make sure if you have 4 or more, you need the comma. If it's 3 or less, it's optional. Okay. Your last comma rule, number 10, is kind of a hodgepodge of things that need commas. It's whenever there's a contrasting statement, so you have the beginning and then the end part of the sentence maybe is opposite. If you're adding a question, we've kind of already dealt with that with one of our comma rules previously, or if there's additional information. We've also given that, used that rule previously before as well. Remember, commas are adding a pause in a sentence. So if you do struggle with these, read the sentence and think, when would you pause? And wherever those pauses occur naturally, there's often a comma associated with one of these rules. Let's look at some examples. I am good at English, not math. Notice that I am good at English is a sentence on its own. Not math is a contrasting statement. It's showing the opposite. Therefore, this piece, which is also an afterthought, right? You don't need the words not math to make the sentence complete. You need to have a comma to set that off. Softball, not basketball, is my favorite sport. Again, if you took out these words not basketball, you already have a complete sentence. Softball is my favorite sport. The not basketball is additional information, and it's still offering a contrast, an opposite. So notice that since this is in the middle of the sentence, you need a comma before it and after it to separate that phrase, which is contrasting and additional information. The girl was nice, but very sneaky. Here again is an example of a contrasting statement. We've already practiced using the word but, that you need the comma beforehand. You are going to the pool party, aren't you? Notice these last 2 words are giving a question at the end. Again, we've dealt with this before, so you need the comma before the added question. And then he gives his opinion often, usually too much. Those last 3 words are kind of the added information not required of the sentence, so you need a comma previous to it to separate it from the rest of the sentence.